Hey everybody, it's Chris Mahan with another Lead Your Team podcast. And this episode is for the series True Parental Leadership, something we started a few months ago. As I said, we would be doing this all summer long. And I have a really, really awesome guest. She has been on my podcast a couple of times. I've been on with her. This is Anne Alvares. She is from Canada. She is a mom. She's a teacher. She's a therapist. She's a counselor. She's an author. She is a parenting coach. She is everything that we need for this podcast. And so please sit back and listen because she's got an amazing story. And I really want this to be an impactful episode. We've been talking for a few minutes, and what you're going to learn today is so important because not only does it coincide with what I talk about in my book, but this is something that all parents need to hear because all of us, when we become parents, we don't know how we're going to be as a parent. We don't know what the rules are yet until we get into those certain situations. And sometimes we allow our past, our personal past, to affect our present with our kids. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And welcome back. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
You and I have talked many times, and every time I talk to you, I learn something new, which is awesome. It's great thing about these podcasts and learning things different people. And as you and I have talked over the past, oh gosh, couple of years now, so we've actually our first
Hmm.
podcast like 2 years ago.
Yes.
Everything you do, everything you talk about, everything you help parents with is so strong because it comes from a really, really strong place, which is, I believe, your heart. And everything I've
Mm.
talked to you about is you taking your personal experience and your personal pain and translating that into a way that parents can understand it so they don't go through the same thing or their kids don't go through the same thing. Is that I feel like that's kind of where we're going. That's how I
Yeah.
interpret it. You've
Yeah.
recently written a book, and I know you've got so much to talk about, but what inspired you to write your book? What's your book about? And what was the real meaning of this book for you? When you're writing it, like, did you discover things about yourself? Did you discover things about your family? I know I wrote mine. I did for a lot of things. So tell me about
Yes.
how you started this book and where did it come from?
Well, I had a longing to write a book because of my journey, my own childhood experience, how it affected me so much in my adult life. I didn't even realize. It still affects me. I have to be very, very aware of when it's showing up. And it took a long time to heal. And I didn't know like what I was living as a child. I didn't know that it was unhealthy because when you're a kid, you just think your parents, whatever your parents are doing is the right thing. You
Mhm.
don't question it when you're a child. But then as you get older, you realize, well, maybe that wasn't actually good, what my parents were doing to me. But my story is really extreme because I did have abuse, right? I was sexually abused by my dad when I
Mm.
was a kid for a couple of years, like I think from 8 to maybe 10 to 12. And I kept it a secret because I was scared of him. I tried to tell my brother. My brother, he told him I got in trouble. And so I learned at a young age that you keep that a secret. And then my mom was I realize now that my mom had mental health issues, but my mom um, was very up and down in her moods. And she was difficult to please.
Mm.
And so I grew up with learning that I had to be a people pleaser to feel loved, right? Because that's how we learn love. We learn love from our parents first. We learn about relationships from our parents first because they are our first relationship. And so, because of that, what did I learn? I learned that I had to keep my mouth quiet. I learned that love is pleasing your parents because that's how I got love.
Mm.
I learned that it was okay to be yelled at, to be reprimanded, to be shamed. I learned all of that as a young child thinking that was normal. And I remember going to my friend's house as a teenager and having dinner with them as a family. And they were all laughing, getting along, and everybody was happy. And I was like, okay, hold on a second. This is not my family. This is the family I want. I remember thinking as a teen, that's what I want. I don't want what I have, what I'm living right now. And so I truly believe that God will show you a different way, right? And that was my way of seeing a different life for myself as an adult that I could choose to have, um, a healthy family. I call it healthy now because we have unhealthy and we have healthy. And if we can understand it this way, it makes it easier. So when we're yelling, when we're screaming, when we're getting mad at our kids, that's unhealthy. We're teaching them unhealthy relationship. But when we listen to them, when we connect, when we validate them, their feelings, when we support them, that's healthy. And that's when our kids can truly thrive, right? But why do we repeat these patterns? It's because we grew up learning this. And we think it's our job as parents to control them, to yell at them, to get mad when they do something wrong, because we grew up with that. But I'm challenging parents now. I'm saying, is it actually good? Because we have a lot of unhealed people in the world, and it stems from our childhood, not receiving what we needed in our childhood affects our adult life. Because then we're always looking for it. We're always looking for validation. We're always looking to people please. We're always looking for people to love us. And it's because we were not filled emotionally by our own parents. And
Wow.
I'm not shaming parents. I just want to, I really want to make this clear. Like, our parents did what they knew. And maybe they didn't know it was wrong. Maybe they were repeating the pattern from their own generation, right?
Yeah.
So I don't want to shame the older generations. I don't want to shame our parents. But what I'm saying is, if we want a healthier world, if we want emotionally secure, stable adults, we have to raise them differently. We have to change the way that we're parenting so that we are fostering them, giving them confidence, and so that they're living a full adult life, not trying to heal, what was done to them.
Right. That is so, so powerful. And the thing that, I connect with this because I wasn't, thank God I wasn't abused physically as a kid. Um, but I grew up in a divorced home, and in the 70s, like you said, you kept quiet. I too was a people pleaser. I wanted to make everybody happy, keep everybody, no problems. And but what it did for me is it made me not understand that by me not speaking up for myself, like you said, I wasn't getting what I felt I needed. And so I was constantly trying to get validation for things. And when I didn't get it, I would try harder and harder and harder. And as a result, I was probably the most insecure, scared kid. Um,
Yes.
we've talked about this in the past with dyslexia. School was horrible for me. So I had that issue. Then I didn't know where I fit in my family. When I went to my dad's on the weekends, I was the youngest. So I was treated differently. When I went back to my mom's house, I was the second oldest. So I was treated differently. So I never really
Yes.
knew where I fit and how to, you know, am I supposed to be an older brother or am I the baby of the family? Am I supposed to be leading example or am I supposed to follow everybody? I just didn't ever know. And one of the things that I remember specifically at age 10, I'd ask my mom why she and my dad divorced. I just wanted to know. I never knew them as mom and dad. I was two when they divorced. And she didn't like that. I was told we don't talk about divorce in this family. We don't say that word. I mean, so that shut me down. So again, it just
Yes.
validated you just don't talk about it. You don't say anything. I see this all the time today, just like with you, where parents are afraid to hear the truth, or maybe afraid to have those hard conversations.
Yes.
And we can have hard conversations if they're age appropriate and the right words, because kids don't always understand the word to the feeling. They don't understand what this word is supposed to represent, but I feel a certain way. At 10 years old, I didn't know how to really communicate how I was feeling. I just felt. And I think that's still a problem today. Another problem is I think parents are getting so many ideas of how to parent that we've created another problem. And that is kids are all over the place. Parents don't have any control in terms of their household. I don't mean physical control, like that, but they just don't. Their kids are kind of all over the place. And we're seeing it more with mental health, everything else. Did you ever have a moment with your kids where you had to go, ooh, maybe this isn't the right thing to do?
Oh, many times, because I didn't grow up in a healthy home, and I had to learn what was healthy. And so I didn't realize I was repeating some patterns. I really made a conscious effort to get some healing before I had my kids. And it was good that I had them later because it gave me time to process. I had the conversation with my mom before having kids, about my childhood. I was able to confront her, which is what I talk about in my book, is like sometimes we have to go back and we have to give voice to that child.
Mm-hmm.
We have to give a voice to that child that didn't have a voice. And so that was a very impactful conversation. Like at the age of 29, I said to my mom, but this was my childhood experience. I'm not blaming you. I just want you to know. I just want you to know.
How'd she
And
respond to it?
well, the gift was that she heard me. The gift was that she actually heard me and she cried.
Mm,
And it actually helped me because I saw, okay, she has feelings about this. Because I think my mom knew. She knew she wasn't the best mom, but she was going through so much struggle. Like with my dad, the relationship was very turbulent and she was the breadwinner. So there was a lot of financial stress in her life. And so she was explaining to me that I was really working hard. I was under a lot of stress. This was the situation. So I understood it. I heard it. Like logically, I heard it. But the little girl in me didn't accept it. The little girl in me said, that wasn't okay, Mom.
right.
It wasn't okay because I needed this and you didn't give it to me. And now I'm trying to heal, right? So her making excuses, and that's what I talk about with parents. I say we cannot make excuses for not giving our kids what they need. If we're under stress, we have to deal with it. If there's financial issues, we have to deal with it. These are adult problems. These are
Mm-hmm.
not kid problems. And so we can't make excuses for not giving our children what they emotionally need, right? And so that opened the door, though, to our relationship starting to heal. And my mom's apologized numerous times. And I think that's why I can forgive her, is because she admitted that she wasn't the best mom. And she praises me all the time, the way that I parent my children, right? Uh, like I'm kind of modeling to her what's
Okay.
healthy and stuff like that. But but yeah, my children have been the mirror. And this is what I tell parents a lot. Our kids are mirrors. We know we're being unhealthy by their reactions. So if we're yelling and then our child starts to cry or goes to their room or gets angry, then we know we should have handled it differently, or we need to stop what we're doing because it's actually hurting them. Okay. Their reactions will tell us. A lot of times, our parents didn't listen to our reactions.
Yeah.
They didn't care if we cried. Too bad, go to your room. Too bad. You need to listen to me, right? But I'm saying to parents, that's not healthy. What's healthy is to look at the reactions of our kids because it's a relationship.
Right.
It's a relationship. Like if your spouse was crying, you wouldn't just say, go to your room. You
Right.
wouldn't just say, oh, suck it up. But that's what we do to our kids. Why do we do that to our kids? That's not okay. We have to we have to understand we're doing something unhealthy, and then we have to repair it. Sorry, honey, I'm yelling. I'm sorry about that. It's because I'm scared. Like, I don't want you to do this. Like, we have to explain it to them.
Right.
It's not because I don't love you. It's because I was stressed out and I took it out on you and I apologize. But we have to explain it to them because this is what happens with kids. They internalize a message about themselves, their identity, based on what we're doing to them. They never blame their parents. I tell this to parents all the time. They don't blame us. They think there's something wrong with them because biologically, our children are geared to love us.
Mm-hmm.
Biologically, our kids are geared to connect with us, love us, and long for connection with us. And so if we're doing something that's breaking connection, they think it's because of them.
Mm-hmm.
They think I'm bad, I'm stupid, I'm unvaluable, I'm unworthy. These are the thoughts that they have when we're yelling at them, when we're punishing them, which that's why I don't believe in punishment at all. When we're ignoring them, ignoring is also unhealthy, parents. When we're ignoring them, when we're doing something unhealthy to them, they think they're unworthy and it
Yep.
affects their confidence. We do it enough times when they're an adult, they become very unconfident adults. So that's why we have to stop. I'm not saying you have to be perfect. Like I have yelled and my kids are still confident. Why? Because I repair. I say, I'm sorry, it was me. It wasn't you. Mommy needs to take a chill pill. You know? Mommy needs a break. Mommy's tired. It's mommy. It's not you, right? And this is why the repair is so important because then our kids understand and don't internalize this identity message about themselves, right? They don't do that when we repair it and we take ownership of our bad behavior, right? Or what our unhealthy behavior, you know?
Why do you
That's
think
what we have to do.
why do you think it's so hard for parents to realize that? Like I talk about this in my book, and I don't understand why if I can I okay, let me back up. I equate this to a job. If you were at a job and your boss constantly yelled, belittled, didn't apologize, wasn't clear on objectives, um, didn't really, tell you everything they wanted, but then they expected a different outcome, you would quit. You would say, it's the
Yeah,
worst boss in the world, worst job, I'm out. But our kids
yeah.
can't quit us. They
No.
can't leave home. They're 8, 9, 10, 15. They some do, and of course we know the outcome of that. But as an overall general rule, they can't just quit their parents. Why then do you think parents don't look at their kids in the same way if they were being treated that way? Because now you're an adult. You got to look at it differently as an adult and say, wait a minute, this isn't okay. Why is it so hard for parents today to say it isn't okay for me to act
Okay,
this way?
I'm gonna go back in time. Um, I went to a therapist, a counselor, uh, in my early 20s. My mom was still being very toxic with me. It was affecting me. Um, and so I had to go for counseling. It's actually the first and only counseling session I had just about my childhood. I had counseling sessions, marital problems and stuff, but my childhood one, I just had one. But this one was so impactful because I just cried. I cried and cried and cried about my childhood. And then I said to the counselor, I said, I don't understand why my parents did this to us. How they did not know that they were damaging my brother and I. How did they not know? That was my question. And then what she said, I will never forget. She said, you need to be grateful that you're aware. that stuck with me. That was like a light bulb. That was like, okay, awareness is the key. They chose not to be aware. They chose to ignore it and just continue the pattern. They chose to not be reflective. And I
Mm,
think a lot of times parents the programming is so deep and they are very surface level, do not want to go deep because that was their strategy to survive in their family is
mm,
let's not talk about it. Let's not go there. And then so then they continue the pattern, the unhealthy pattern with their kids. And it'll show up in parenting. Like parenting is going to grow you. Either it's going to grow you or you're going to repeat the pattern,
mm-hmm,
right? But parenting, everything's going to show up in parenting because it's going to bring you back to when you were a child. You weren't allowed to cry. So now it upsets you that your child's crying, right? You're like,
mm,
why is my child so emotional? Like that's one of the parents I was working with, this mom, right? She said her childhood was normal. She said her childhood was wonderful. Everything was good. So I was like, okay, this is like that you've stuffed it down so long that you've convinced yourself that your childhood was normal. But or maybe you didn't know that actually was unhealthy what your parents were doing to you. Maybe you were not aware. And so my question is, if your childhood was so wonderful, why is it that you get so upset when your child shows emotion?
mm.
Let's talk about that. Tell me, were you allowed to express emotion when you were a kid? And then she was like, no, I was a very obedient kid. I did whatever my parents said. Oh, so you suppressed what you really wanted. You didn't feel safe enough to express what you wanted and how you felt. You see that? You
Yeah.
suppressed it. But now you have a child that is expressing. And so you did do something good because now your child feels safe enough with you to express. So that means you actually have opened the door a little bit, right? Um, but now you got to ask yourself, why is it a problem for you for her to cry or get upset? Why is that a problem? Because you know what? It's just emotions. How come she can't express her emotions? When you get upset, she thinks that her emotions are bad. She thinks expressing emotions are bad. They're not bad. They're normal. This is being a human being,
Right.
you know?
Well, I
And so
think what
that's
people don't
when,
realize too is we have emotions for a reason.
yes,
And like you just said, those emotions are there to tell us something. Are you
mm,
happy? Are you sad? Are you scared? Are you confused? Are you what is it? And I think sometimes society plays a big part in how we parent today because there's so many parenting experts out there and there's something new every week that's a little
yes,
confusing. And I
yeah,
find that a lot of times people don't want to get to the root cause. So what you're talking about, I talk about it in my book with the root cause analysis, SWOT analysis. People just see the surface level. So when a
yes,
kid is having a tantrum or they're crying, oh, I'm going to take care of that. But why not take care of what's causing the tantrum or the fear or the insecurity?
yeah,
And I think for parents, from what you're saying, and I've experienced it myself, they themselves don't want to really know the truth because then they have to change their thought pattern, their behavior. They have to then reflect on their past. And when I grew up in the 70s, we didn't talk about emotions. We didn't
hmm
talk about how a divorce affects a kid. In fact,
right,
society was actually promoting divorce in the 70s.
hmm
It, I, with all the research I've done, it's like, I can't believe that they thought that this was okay, but it was the way that people were thinking in society. But biologically and relationship wise, and it wasn't okay. It was a fad. And now we see the result of all these divorces and all these homes that are unhealthy or dysfunctional, as I call them. And we're seeing what's happening to our kids. I don't know what's
yeah,
happening up in Canada, but down here, almost every week we have a mass shooting in Chicago or Baltimore. Young people going out and killing each other.
Yeah.
We have these teen takeovers all over the country where literally hundreds of kids will come in, dozens get arrested. A 16-year-old down here in Florida a few weeks ago in Clearwater pulled out a gun. He's not going to jail for weapons charges. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he actually shot at someone. So now he's got those charges. He's 16 years old.
Yeah.
We are allowing an entire generation of young people to just be out of control. And I think a lot of it is because we don't have the solid foundation in the home. We don't have the ability to look at ourselves as parents and say, okay, what can I do differently? As a dad, I don't know how, as I've never been a mom, but as a dad, it bothered me to think that I was doing something wrong. When I had that time with my son at 9, when I yelled at him, and that was my wake up call to say, I cannot treat him the way I was afraid, because that's going to make him so insecure or afraid to talk to me. I never wanted my boys afraid to talk to me. So, we can tell our kids, hey, you can tell me anything, but then when they do, you blow up. So it's kind of a contradiction there.
You can't do it.
You can't do it. And it's so hard for parents today, especially younger parents. I work with a lot of younger parents under 40, and they're going through so much themselves, probably at a greater rate than I've ever seen. And now they have 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds. And they themselves don't know even what to do. And now they're trying to bring up this young little, mind and body and develop it. And they have no clue. And we're seeing the results of this lack of emotional acceptance and past trauma acceptance. I mean, everything you're talking about is so relevant. I don't care if you're in Canada, America, Australia. Parenting is parenting, because we're all human beings. So what you're saying can resonate with anybody.
Yeah.
How I know we got to wrap up here. I know you got a lot going on, but how can we find your book? Where is your book?
Oh,
how can people get with you? If do you do things internationally on Zoom, or how can people get in touch with you?
Yes. Before we go there, I just wanted to just put in a couple of things.
Okay.
Parents, I know it's hard, and just speaking to parents, because I don't want you to feel shamed. I want you to understand that there is help and there's support, and you can change, because I changed, and I came from a very dysfunctional, unhealthy home. And it's possible, right? But if we don't look at ourselves, that's the problem. If we're just looking at our child and we're saying, oh, our child did something upsetting, I think maybe he needs a counselor or needs to go into therapy, and which is a lot of parents do that. And I'm saying, when you bring your child to therapy, then they start thinking there's something wrong with them, but there's nothing wrong with them. We have the opportunity to change and to help, and we've got to stop giving our power away.
Yeah.
We're giving our power away when we're just looking at our child's behavior and inviting someone else to deal with our child. No, you have the most power in your home. Parents have the most power and impact in their homes. And so my whole coaching is to empower parents to take that, to understand, and to learn, so that they can teach their kids and feel good about their parenting. Because honestly, parenting's supposed to be joyful.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's not joyful for you, it's because you have unresolved wounds. You have unhealed wounds. And we need to get into that, because when you heal, your life is going to be 100 times better. And so will your children. Your children's lives will be 100 times better. So we have to look at ourselves and not just at our kids. Look at ourselves and say, what am I bringing to the table? What energy am I bringing? What am I doing that's unhealthy? When we can do that, that's the awareness piece, right?
Yep.
That's the first step. Once you say, oh, yeah, okay, I think I'm being unhealthy, then you can learn what to do instead, right? And how to take care of yourself and nurture that child. Because that's really
I'm
what my
sorry.
book is about.
We've talked so
My
many
book is
times.
about
One thing you said a long time
nurturing
ago.
that child.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll get to your book.
Okay.
One thing you said a long time ago was people are afraid, adults are afraid to ask for help.
Hmm.
What can
Yeah.
you tell parents real quick that maybe are sitting on the fence and saying, I'm embarrassed. I don't want to go down that road. It's too painful for me. How can you encourage parents to say, okay, look, I've got to be a better parent. I'm aware I'm doing something wrong, but the ability to go get help, like how do you encourage people to do that are afraid they're going to be judged because they're a bad parent, or they just don't want to face their own demons, so to speak? How do we get them to get out of that mindset and look at the bigger picture for themselves, their family, and their kids?
I just want to say to parents that I understand. I kept my secret. I kept the abuse that I experienced because I was ashamed about it.
Mm,
But as I've gone through the healing journey and I've opened up my heart to telling my story, because I think our stories have a testimony. Our stories are served, can be used, our pain can be used for purpose, right?
mm-hmm.
Our pain can be used for purpose. Once we're out of it, we can help other people. So I just want parents to know, I know it's hard to talk about, and I know it's very painful. But once you get your story out, then you can understand that you can release it. You can release it and you can say, it was about my parents and it wasn't about me. That's what my book talks about. Understanding it was about your parents and it wasn't about you, that you were always worthy of love, that you were always meant to be cherished and valued. You always were, but your parents could not give it to you. And so now, as an adult, you have to give it to yourself. And when you give it to yourself, you're going to be a better parent. Because, honestly, our children need us to be happy. Our
Yeah.
children need our happiness because a happy parent makes happy children. So when we're unhappy and we're bringing that into our home, our kids are always looking to try to make us happy, to fill us up. And it's not their job. So we have to work on our happiness so that our kids can grow up in a happy home and have a good adult life,
And then take that
right?
into their parenting and
Yeah.
break these cycles
Be
of
ha-
negativity and these cycles of pain. Um,
yes.
so
Yes. Our
now tell me about your
happiness is
book. I won't
key.
interrupt you. I'm so sorry, but
Okay.
you've sprung something in
So
my
I
brain
did
that I had
talk
to say
about,
it.
yeah, I did talk about the healing journey. Like this is called Heal Your Childhood, Reclaiming Your Worth, Voice, and Future. And it's really a step-by-step guide. And there's at the end of each chapter, there's a little bit of homework and reflection, right? Because that's part of the awareness piece is reflecting. Okay, what messages I have about myself today? Where did that come from? How come? Right? Um, and so it's very trauma informed. So it's going to be gentle with you, like I'm a firm believer in we need love and kindness, those of us that experienced pain in our childhood. And we need help to nurture the little child that was wounded, right? And so it's not about shaming, it's about growing, learning, and healing so that we can be better for ourselves and also for our children.
That's awesome. Now you on Amazon?
Yes, on Amazon.
Okay. I know you have a YouTube channel. You have a podcast of your own. Where can people find you there?
Yeah, so at Masterful Parenting, I also want to tell parents I have a free 5-day challenge. It's called From Trigger to Regulated Parent Reset. Anyone can sign up. It's really, really easy. It's video lessons I walk you through. Why are you getting triggered? How do you deal with the trigger? And to calm yourself down. And how can you then respond to your child? So it goes through that step. And then I also do personalized coaching, and I also have a 9-week program for parents that want to just do the whole deep dive. But you're going to get support throughout the whole thing because I like to walk parents through it and answer any questions. And I also have an amazing, I just opened up a healed parent community.
Hmm.
Healed parent community every is open to everybody. It's on Facebook. I encourage you to join because I do live like lessons, workshops for parents
Oh,
on there.
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I will put all that in the show notes and any links that you have. So in case they missed it here, they can, see it in writing. And if you guys have any questions, you can always reach back out to me at leadyourteen@gmail.com. And, I'll be happy to answer anything. If you have any questions for Anne, I'll be happy to share those, or you can just go reach out to her directly on her Facebook and in all her social media. She's got a bunch out there.
Yes.
And go check out her
Instagram. Yeah.
book. Hold that book up again for me.
Here it is.
There it is. Heal Your Childhood. It's on Amazon. Please check out this book, and it'll be hopefully life-changing for you. I know Anne for a couple of years, so I know that everything in there is from the heart, and it's not just a bunch of words. She probably meant every bit of it. And so this will be something great for you, your family, and your future kids, your grandchildren down the road. You can break that cycle and get this this monkey off your back, if you will. And we all have issues in our childhood. No one's immune to that. But how we handle that is in our control. So whether it's my book, whether it's her book, anybody, do what you got to do, and we want to help you. So with that, I'm gonna wrap this one up. And thank you so much for coming back on. I know you've got a busy schedule, and we've been trying to do this for a while. You know, I really value everything you've done and what you're doing and helping me out. So again, thank you very much. And with that, we're going to say goodbye. We'll see you guys next time right here on Lead Your Teen with the True Leadership Parenting Leadership Podcast. I've got another one called After the Cap and Gown, which is also a series, which I'll probably get Anne on for that one too, because she's got some ideas for that. So you guys have a great day. See you all next week.